I mean,
Well, I mean, I think the society itself, depending on where it is, on where people live, is already pretty well integrated. But I think the fact that like there's two different like curricula based off of like what culture you want your kid to learn, because that's really what it is. You know, like if you want your kid to grow up in Arab culture, you send them to an Arabic school. If you want them to grow up in Jewish culture, you send them to a Jewish school, whether that be secular or religious.
Well, that's
And
important though.
yeah. That's important for people to, what's the word? Preserve like their cultural heritage and pass it on to their kids. Having that taught in schools is important. But I feel like the fact that like kids go to these different buildings to learn these things, like that implants an idea in their head at a very young age when people are their most impressionable. That makes them look at like these people who go to the other school, not to their school, as like inherently different when that's really not the case. And I don't have the perfect idea for that. I think maybe we can just do it in the same school but different classrooms. I don't know. I really don't.
I get what you're saying, but I think that religion and culture are heavily intertwined. I would say, especially in the Middle East, right? So one of the potential major stumbling blocks there is that people want to educate their children in their religion, but the way it was done for me was at school. We had religious education classes, and maybe with secular Jewish schools, I don't know how secular the schools get on the Palestinian side, but maybe with secular Jewish schools, it's not such an issue. But when you have the Haredim teaching Judaism heavily, and on the Palestinian side, they have so much of their religion imbued into them at a young age. It's part of those religions conflict with each other on certain things. Like we were just speaking yesterday on our podcast to Zubaida, and she was telling us that part of the Muslim belief is that when our Moshiach comes, he will be the Antichrist for them. Mm-hmm. So for there are segments of the population where they're never gonna reconcile, because there are people that think we're the devil, and there are people on our side that think they're the devil. And that's kind of insurmountable in a certain way, unless you're just going to ignore these massive percentages of the population. I don't know how to tackle that personally.
Kane, though, I think that's maybe something that can happen naturally. If you remember when we spoke to Zubaida about this issue with the Mashiach, and the same thing with the Christians and Jews and Armageddon and Armageddon and all this kind of stuff. If you look at it from an agnostic perspective and you take all these things as stories and not as these things are fact and going to happen per se, then these problems dissolve themselves, if you see what I mean. The issue is that we don't have enough of that critical thinking going on. Unfortunately, unfortunately, a lot of people follow the religion blindly. They will fast for something that they don't even realize why they're fasting for, or that they'll pray and they don't exactly realize the words that are in the prayer. So what I think needs to happen in that sense is education, and is taking religion with a little bit of a pinch of salt, and even if, let's say, the most strict Muslim and strict Jew that believes the Messiah is coming, and they believe that the Antichrist is coming and all this stuff, that could happen in 100,000 years. Who said it's going to happen tomorrow? And this is the issue that we're seeing. This is why it's caused, people are saying it's end days, it's coming now. People have been saying it's coming now for the last 2,000 years.
That's not what I mean, though. Like, because I'm saying that I'm not talking about the factual accuracy of the Moshiach coming being the stumbling block. I mean, I'm talking about people's
people having being taught religious views that say these things in the real world.
Yeah, because if God tells you something and you believe that God's real and he's told you to do something, what human on earth are you going to listen to that is more right than God? So if that's what you believe, then it's going to be very hard to change your mind on that. And if your beliefs are violent and extreme, then you know, I take it with a pinch of salt. I'm not actually pondering every day, when's the Mashiach coming, when's the Mashiach coming. But there are people that are doing that, and there are people on the other side that are waiting for that too, because they believe there's going to be some end of the world war, some Armageddon. So that those people are the problem, not the idea that it might actually happen.